They left for the all-inclusive resort without me, 3 suites, 11 family members, and my card on file for Incidentals. When I asked why, my mom said, "You're no fun on vacations." I just replied, "Enjoy the bar tab." Then I froze the account, flagged the card, and contacted the resort directly. At 2:03 p.m., I got a message from my dad. "They kicked us out." Are you kidding me? I still can't believe they really did it. Like fully went through with it. 11 of them, my entire immediate family, boarded a plane to a beach resort without saying a single word to me. And somehow they thought they had nothing to lose. No blowback. Like I wouldn't notice thousands vanishing from my account. Like I just shrug and keep scrolling. 3 rooms all inclusive. A full week. They packed up, grouped up, smiled for the camera, and made sure I wasn't even an afterthought. And the best part, they paid for it with my card. The same card my mom texted me about 2 weeks earlier asking for access real quick for a family emergency. I didn't even hesitate. I figured it was something medical. Grandma had just been to the ER the month before. I asked no questions and gave her what she needed. That was my mistake. I found out through my cousin's Instagram story, a poolside shot with the caption, "Family trip we all needed." I tapped through and my stomach tightened. There was my mom with a drink. My dad lounging like he'd earned a vacation. My sister and her husband, my aunt, my uncle, their 3 kids, even grandma made it. Everyone but me. I didn't say anything right away. I rewatched the stories until they expired. Then I opened my banking app. Sure enough, there it was. A series of charges to a travel agency, airline tickets, the resort, every charge tied to my name. I checked the totals, the numbers didn't even sting at that point. It was the silence, the calculation, the fact that no one thought I'd catch on. Or worse, they didn't care if I did. I called my mom. She picked up. Didn't even pretend to be surprised. I asked her why. She said, "You're no fun on vacation." Like that was a valid reason to exclude me. Like they all had a meeting and decided I wasn't worth the plane seat. And the tone, like I should have known, like it was obvious. I almost laughed. But instead I said, "Enjoy the bar." Then I hung up. After that, it was methodical. I logged in, froze the card, called the bank, and reported the charges as unauthorized, which to be fair, they were. Then I called the resort and told them the same thing. Explained calmly that I didn't authorize the booking, that the charges were made in my name without permission. I gave them all the details they needed. They said they'd handle it. At 2:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from my dad. "We've been kicked out." Are you kidding me? I just stared at it for a while. They really thought I was going to bankroll their little family getaway and sit at home like an idiot, like I was an extra in my own life. No, I'm not the quiet one anymore. And this was just the beginning. The silence after they got kicked out was satisfying in a cold hallway. I didn't celebrate. I didn't jump around or feel powerful. I just sat on my couch and watched the phone start to blow up. One message after another like popcorn in a microwave. First came the text from Emily, always the self-appointed moral compass of the family. "Seriously, Andrew, you got us thrown out. What is wrong with you?" Then Rob, always a follower. That was low. "You humiliated your parents." Grandma cried. "Hope you're happy." It went on like that for hours. Missed calls, voicemails. Even my aunt chimed in at one point saying I'd caused a scene bigger than her divorce, whatever that meant. But I didn't reply to any of them. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because none of them deserved a word from me. They made their choice when they booked 3 rooms with my card and sent me 0 invitations. They decided I wasn't worth including. Fine, but they don't get to decide how I react. They landed back in the States the next afternoon. I knew because someone tagged my sister in a photo at the airport with a dead-eyed caption. "Home early. Worst trip ever." The next day, the real fun began. At 9:07 a.m., I got a text from Mom. "Come over. We need to talk face to face." No apology, no olive branch, just an order like nothing had happened. Like I was supposed to roll out of bed, drive over, and get scolded like a teenager. I didn't reply. An hour later, she tried again. This is not how family handles problems. Be an adult and show up. By lunch, my dad jumped in with his usual blunt force approach. You embarrassed us. You crossed the line. If you don't show up today, don't bother coming back ever. I stared at the screen. It was almost funny. They were trying to corner me, guilt trip me, manipulate me. The same tactics they'd used for years, like I hadn't grown up, moved out, built my own life without their help. Like they still held the leash. I spent the rest of the day doing laundry, catching up on emails, and ignoring every single notification from them. Around 6 p.m., they showed up at my building. I didn't answer the buzzer. They rang it 6 times, pounded on the door, called my phone nonstop. My neighbor even texted asking if I wanted her to call the cops. I said no, but thanked her for the offer. Eventually, they left. Probably furious, probably embarrassed. I thought maybe that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. They weren't done. 2 mornings later, I got an email at work. HR flagged it and forwarded it to me. The subject line was generic. Concern regarding employee conduct, but the content was unmistakable. Vague allegations about questionable ethical behavior. Anonymous tip, no specifics, but the timing crystal clear. They were trying to get me fired. I sat there staring at the screen. My heart wasn't racing. I wasn't scared. I was furious. Not in a loud, chaotic way. The cold, silent kind. The kind that stays. That's when I understood the full picture. This wasn't just about a ruined vacation. They wanted to hurt me, take something away, punish me for not playing alone, for not being the obedient, quiet son who just let himself be robbed and laughed off the bruise. They thought they were the only ones capable of playing dirty. They had no idea what was coming. The complaint at work fizzled out within 2 days. HR called me in, asked a few routine questions, then told me not to worry. They knew it was nothing. I had a clean record, solid performance reviews, and half my team had vouched for me before the meeting even started. But the damage wasn't really the point. It was the message. They were willing to cross lines. I sat in my apartment that night, phone face down on the table, thinking about the sheer insanity of it all. They went on vacation without me. They used my card, got caught, got kicked out, and now they were launching these little attacks like this was war. Like I had betrayed them. That night, I stopped thinking of them as my family. I started thinking of them as people I used to know. I started doing what I should have done years ago. I got methodical. I pulled all my financial statements for the last 12 months and combed through them. I found 6 separate transactions I hadn't made. Some were small, others weren't. One was a hotel in Florida. One was a rental car. A few were just Amazon orders I didn't recognize. I checked the shipping address. It was my parents' place. Then I ran my credit. Someone had opened a store card under my name 2 days after the vacation ended. Bought nearly $3,000 worth of electronics and maxed it out. Same billing address, same surname. I didn't even hesitate. I filed a police report, fraud, identity theft. I gave them everything, names, dates, screenshots. I attached the vacation charges too, just for good measure. I also locked my credit down across all 3 bureaus. No one was touching my name again. The next thing I did was write a post. I didn't name names. I didn't need to. For those asking why my family came home early from their vacation, they booked the entire trip behind my back and used my car to pay for it. When I found out, I led the payment. Since then, they've tried to ruin my job and opened accounts in my name. I filed charges. I'm not playing nice anymore. Within hours, the post blew up. Comments rolled in. Some confused, others supportive, a few shocked, but not surprised. What I didn't expect was the private messages. 2 second cousins I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me saying they'd had weird experiences with my mom or Rob in the past. One of them told me Rob tried to get her to take out a loan for him when she was 19, claiming it was for a business opportunity. When she said no, the whole family ghosted her. Apparently, this kind of thing had been happening for years. Quiet manipulation, money passed around, guilt trips when someone pushed back, and then silence like a pattern no one talked about. 2 days after I posted, I came home to find a letter shoved under my door. My name was scrolled across the front. It was from my mom. Her handwritten pages, both sides, started out soft like she was trying to sound rational. "We're disappointed. We didn't expect this from you. airing dirty laundry to strangers. Family doesn't do that. But it unraveled quickly. Accusations, guilt, threats veiled as warnings. She wrote that I'd humiliated them, embarrassed Grandma, turned my back on the people who raised and fed me. She said, I needed to make it right before it was too late. And the last line, you've forced our hand. If you want to keep what you have, think very carefully about what you do next. I folded the letter neatly and slid it into a folder. I wasn't scared, just done. Done pretending this was salvageable. Done acting like blood was a reason to let yourself be used. They thought they could guilt me into silence. Then they tried sabotage. And now they were threatening me. I don't know what they're planning, but I've started planning, too. They're about to learn something they should have known a long time ago. I don't stay quiet, and I don't lose. The threats didn't rattle me. If anything, they clarified things. I stopped thinking of what happened as family drama and started treating it like what it was, a calculated, ongoing attempt to control and silence me. They wanted leverage. They wanted me scared. They wanted me back in that old role, the one who just stayed quiet and said thank you when it was over. Instead, I made everything louder. I sent copies of the credit card fraud report to all 3 bureaus and added the police report number. I started working with a friend of mine, Rachel, who's a lawyer. Nothing formal yet, but she gave me advice. Keep receipts, log everything, and do not engage unless it's through legal channels. I followed every word. Then I sent a second message. This time just a family email, no flair, straightforward and plain. I know some of you have been hearing things. Here's what really happened. I broke it all down. The card, the charges, the vacation, the fraud after the HR complaint, the store account opened in my name, the police report numbers, everything. I didn't ask for sympathy. I didn't ask for help. I just laid out facts. Then I ended with this. If you choose to believe their version, that's your right. But understand this, there are legal consequences coming, and I won't be protecting anyone anymore. That email set off a chain reaction I couldn't have scripted better. Some relatives stayed quiet. Others reached out privately trying to figure out which side to take. A few, like Aunt Jenna, surprisingly took my side immediately. Said she always suspected something was off with how Mom handled money. But the best part, 3 days later, I got a call from the detective assigned to my case. Not a long call, just an update. They were investigating. The charges were being taken seriously, and they'd attempted to contact my parents for an interview. They hadn't responded yet. I could imagine them reading that letter I sent, watching everything spiral out of their control. Then came the final straw. They showed up at my office. I was at my desk finishing up a report when the front desk called. Said my mother and father were downstairs refusing to leave unless I came out to speak with them. I told security to turn them away. Later that evening, they emailed me, both of them. A shared Gmail account I didn't even know they had. The message was short, almost clinical. What you're doing is destroying us. If you keep going, we'll make sure you have nothing left. You won't get away with this. That was it. No more veiled threats. No more trying to reason with anyone. I sent the email to Rachel. She flagged it and said it could be considered witness intimidation, especially if the police case moved forward. I forwarded it to the detective, too, just to be safe. That night, I slept better than I had in months. They wanted to ruin me. Now they were the ones spiraling, grasping, threatening, failing, and they weren't done, but neither was I. The email from their weird shared Gmail account marked a shift. Before, their behavior had been manipulative, desperate, selfish. Now it was getting darker. That you won't get away with this. Line stuck with me, not because I was afraid I wasn't, but because it confirmed what I already knew. They had no idea who I'd become. The next morning, my landlord emailed me. Said someone called pretending to be me and asked for access to my unit to grab a few things while I was at work. Claimed it was an emergency. Thankfully, he found it suspicious and didn't let them in. But that was it for me. I changed the locks that afternoon. Installed a camera by my door. Not paranoia, just math. These people had proven they didn't care about boundaries. That same week, I started the process of suing them. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was the principle. The theft, the fraud, the harassment, all of it. Rachel helped me draft the civil complaint. Identity theft, financial damages, emotional distress. I filed it quietly. No announcement, just a clean hit. They found out the following Monday. How? Because they got served at home in front of their neighbors in the middle of the afternoon. Emily was the first to react, of course. She sent a voice message that I didn't bother listening to. I just saved it, labeled it, and moved on. Every text from them, every angry voicemail, every half-baked threat went into a folder now. Evidence. Then came the smear campaign. They started posting online. Not directly about me, but thinly veiled shots. Some people love to destroy their own blood and play the victim. Stuff like that. Emily posted a picture of mom crying and wrote something like, "When your own son sues you and doesn't care who he hurts." I didn't respond. Instead, I quietly contacted the resort where the vacation was booked. I've been waiting for the right moment. Turns out, since I filed the fraud report and reversed the payment, they were still investigating on their end, too. The resort manager remembered the incident, remembered the group being aggressive when asked to leave. He even mentioned they caused a minor scene at the front desk. I asked if he could put something in writing. He said, "Sure." So now I had proof not just of the charges, but of how they acted when it fell apart. The detective called me again that week. Said they were moving forward with a formal investigation and might need to bring them in. They had finally responded apparently, and their story was falling apart already. Something about permission and family misunderstandings. It was pathetic. And then, as if they hadn't already nuked every bridge, they tried one last card. Grandma, they brought her into it. Sent me a picture of her in a hospital bed. Not even recent. With the message, she doesn't have much time. She wants to see you. Don't let her die thinking you hated us all. It was the lowest they'd ever gone. I called the hospital. She wasn't even admitted. She'd had a routine appointment the day before and gone home. So, I sent them one final message. Don't contact me again unless it's through a lawyer. You made your bed. Lie in it. And then I blocked every number, every email, every profile. What they didn't realize, or maybe what they refused to believe, was that I wasn't fighting to win anymore. I already had. Weeks passed. For the first time in months, things got quiet. Not peaceful. That would have required actual resolution, but silent. The kind of silence that lets you hear the air hum in your apartment. The lawsuit was in motion. The investigation was open, and they had been cut off entirely. No more messages. No more voicemails. No more drama showing up on my doorstep. I started to feel like I had a life again. Then I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Minutes later, a voicemail came through. I didn't want to listen to it, but curiosity won. It wasn't for Mom or Dad or Emily. It was for my cousin Mark. He sounded awkward. Said he wanted to talk, that it wasn't about choosing sides, but something I needed to know. I called him back cautiously. He got right to the point. They were planning something. Apparently, after the legal filings hit, my parents had started shopping around a story. Not a legal defense, a public one. They were talking to some local journalist who covered family drama, community stuff, trying to paint me as the bitter, mentally unstable son who lashed out and destroyed his own family over a misunderstanding. They had photos, fake text messages, even a version of events where I offered to pay for the trip and changed my mind mid-flight. They wanted a hit piece, their version of the story. One last shot to flip the narrative and salvage their reputation. Mark said he overheard a conversation between my dad and Rob at a barbecue and decided to tell me because he'd been through something similar, a falling out with Rob years ago that nearly wrecked his marriage. He said, "I wish someone had warned me back then. That's when I knew how this had to end." I called Rachel, explained everything. We prepared a cease and desist for both my parents and Rob, warning them of legal consequences if they defamed me publicly. Then I did something I hadn't done since this started. I went to see Grandma. She was sitting on the porch when I pulled up wrapped in a blanket even though it was warm out. She didn't look surprised to see me. We didn't talk about the lawsuit or the trip or the family. We just talked about the garden, her neighbor's cat, the local church's weird fundraiser. Right before I left, she said one thing. "I always knew you were the strong one." And that was that. I drove home, blocked Mark's number, not because I was angry, but because I was done letting even well-meaning people drag me back into their orbit. Weeks later, The lawsuit reached settlement talks. They offered to pay me back, plus legal fees, in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement. I said no. I wasn't interested in their money anymore. I wanted the record to stand. The damage was already done. What mattered now was that they couldn't erase it, couldn't rewrite it, couldn't bury it under another fake story. The last I heard, they were still trying to rebuild their image quietly, desperately. I didn't care. They tried to erase me from their lives, and I let them, but not before I made sure they'd never forget it. It's been just over 4 months since everything went public. The lawsuit, the investigation, the family fallout. The calls stopped, the online jabs died out, and the entire circus that had taken over my life went quiet. I assumed they had finally accepted reality and retreated into damage control. Maybe they were hoping I'd forget. Maybe they were just waiting for a moment to strike again. But none of that happened. What did happen was something a lot more boring. And somehow that made it more real. A plain envelope showed up in my mailbox last week. No return address, just my name and careful, slightly shaky handwriting. I knew it was from my dad the second I saw it. Inside was a check, the exact amount they charged to my card for the resort down to the cent. No interest, no extras, just that. And a short note written in his usual blunt style. This should cover everything. I assume this ends here. No apology, no explanation, not even a signature, just a transaction. A quiet attempt to sweep months of lies, fraud, and manipulation under the rug with a piece of paper and a scribbled sentence. I didn't cash it. I didn't respond. I dropped it in an envelope, stapled a copy of the police report to it, and mailed it back to their address. No note, no message, just a reminder that this wasn't something they could settle with a check. I didn't expect to feel much after that, but I did. It wasn't relief. It was something closer to confirmation that they weren't sorry, that they'd learned nothing, that in their minds I was the problem for fighting back, not them for stealing. Since then, I've focused on rebuilding the stuff they tried to take from me. I met with a financial advisor, locked down every possible point of vulnerability. Every account has alerts. My credit's recovering. I've got legal insurance now. Even opened a savings account at a separate bank just for peace of mind. And I started seeing a therapist, not because I was falling apart, but because I wanted to understand why I let it get this far, why I'd ignored the red flags for so long, why guilt had such a hold on me. Turns out, when you grow up in a family that operates on shame and silence, it takes a while to learn that protecting yourself doesn't make you the villain. I've also started dating again. Her name's Maya. We met through mutual friends at a trivia night, and she's the first person in years who doesn't make me feel like I need to explain myself just to be understood. I haven't told her the full story, not yet, but I've told her enough. She doesn't flinch when I say, "Family's complicated." She just nods. The other night I had a dream. I was in the kitchen of our old house. My mom was cooking like nothing had happened, humming one of those old songs she used to play on the radio. I sat there watching her and it felt normal, except I wasn't really there. Even in the dream, I felt like a ghost, like I'd stepped into something that used to include me but doesn't anymore. I woke up feeling nothing, not sad, not angry, just done. I don't know if they'll try something again. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but it doesn't matter anymore. They already lost the only thing they had left over me, access. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's just life moving on. And for the first time in a long time, I actually feel like I'm moving with it.